Denise Rokicki, hello. How you
Hello.
doing?
I'm doing well. Good afternoon.
Hey, and
I
good
got a
morning.
message from Priscilla. She's
Yeah.
not feeling well today, so she will not be able to join us.
Well, thanks for saying that. And
And I told her we wish her well.
we wish you well, and we wish you safety. We wish you return of good health, and hope to see you next week, Priscilla. I'm glad
Yeah.
you're taking care of yourself. And I'm Holly Elisa Bruno, and we're going to miss Priscilla Rodriguez. And we're going to have Denise Rokicki. And Denise and I are going to talk about something that we keep talking about so we can go into more depth. And that topic is, what on earth does it mean? This phrase
Uh,
that
po-
Denise uses a lot. Go ahead, sweetie.
yeah. Yeah. The power over dynamic in our patriarchal culture is like so harmful. And this is what gave men the audacity, I guess, to just take whatever they want.
And here's
And
the other. Yeah, go ahead, sweetie.
And that's how I got taken by several men, five to be specific. And
This is when you were a
oh, they
child, right? When you were a
right,
kid walking to
right,
school.
yes. I had one date, not a rape, but a forceful pushing boundaries date, also as a college student. But that I escaped.
Oh, I'm glad you did. We'll have to talk about that because I did not escape that one date rape that was just, it's always with me.
But this is all
You
of
know,
this
it's always with me.
activity comes from power over. They believe they're stronger and they can take what they want. And, it's the most harmful thing in our culture, I believe.
I think anything that annihilates people, anything that makes one group of people not people, anything that makes one group all superior and all the rest of us not superior, it's not life. That's that's like, oh, we're over.
It
Just
is.
I just want to say to folk, guys, welcome to Trauma Survivors Walking Each Other Home. Denise and I have been together for like, I think it's like 5 years now. And
I think so. I think it's about 5 years. Every Monday,
yes,
just about.
that's right. We got to celebrate because we're doing something that I'm really proud of. What we're doing is we meet, we talk from the heart, the soul, the excitement of something we're just learning, or the sadness of something we're going through, and we don't script what we're going to say. We are here as trauma survivors. I'll ask Denise to say why she's here, and I'll say I'm here as a trauma survivor because I know the truth sets me free. And when I actually tell the spontaneous truth about, ooh, what did I just experience this week? What am I experiencing right now? Or opening up to my past when I was a child and I didn't have any agency over anybody and people were just doing whatever they felt like they could do. How can I now face those sadnesses and that trauma and that grief with a sense of growing wisdom, I hope? So we're here to help each other walk each other home. And we don't know what's going to come up, but we know that we will honor each other, not judge each other, listen to each other, and together build on some insights and some ways of being that might help you and folk listening whenever you are listening. Right now, when we're live, or you pick up later, which is what most people are doing, we would love to hear from you. And we'd like to know what's going on with you. And in the meantime, just one thing is so important. I have got my iced tea right here. And why am I doing
Water.
that? Because Denise always reminds us water. We've got to have something to calm our systems. And the other thing I do is, boy, when I start feeling tense, I pull my shoulders back. I let out some air. I breathe in, breathe out. And one time you saw me doing what's called emotional freedom technique, which is tapping on acupressure meridians and saying healing things to myself like, I am enough. I love myself no matter how scared I am. I love myself no matter how anxious I am. I care deeply about myself, no matter how upset I am. I care deeply about myself, and I am taking care of myself. I'm telling the truth, I'm facing the truth, and I'm going to be kind and gentle to myself, even if I never experience that from anybody else. Boom, 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 boom. And just want time with that. And it helps. And doing that with another person, I've done it in groups of people. It really affects us in ways I'm sure they're just starting to measure, but in ways that, like, trees that talk to each other all these centuries, we're talking to each other. When we do this together, we're saying, I'm committed, Denise, to your feeling true to yourself and safe within yourself. And what did you say to your children? I'm safe.
I am here, I am safe. And that's actually what came into my mind when we were tapping.
I am here. I am safe. And
I
every
am
day
here,
those
I am
little,
safe. And I use that with myself a lot.
yes, I've started
You know,
using it too. Yeah.
trying to have sovereignty in my life, with these power over pressures around us constantly, accentuated since the Donald Trump era. And,
What's the
but
latest thing, sweetie? Let's just talk about that. Let's go into some of the stuff you're talking about because I want to know what's just one thing of the zillions of things that's happened in terms of the American regime, the Trump regime. What's happened recently
J.D.
that's
Vance,
power over? Okay,
J,
now say
J.D.
more.
Vance said empathy is the worst thing that's ruining America or something like that. What, didn't he?
So it was either J.D. Vance or his buddy Elon Musk.
Oh, right. Could have been
One of
him,
those
but
two. I think it was Musk, but JD Vance has a whole bunch of stuff too. And
right.
that's one thing right there that's going to knock over trauma survivors. It is living in an environment where people don't hide their bias, their prejudice, their superiority feelings, their ability to kill people with pride. Denise, who got killed? Who's getting killed right now? I mean,
Uh,
this
Protesters, mothers,
and
doctors, emergency room
doctors.
doctors.
Yes. What was his name? Preddy.
Yep.
He was a nurse in the VA and a really beloved nurse in the VA. And people
Yeah.
said, this guy helps me feel like he sees me. He doesn't run off. He's right here. It's all of that emotional intelligence
Which is
that
hard for them to get when they're getting care in that VA situation. I mean, those people are of the power over military culture, whatever thing, too. Like I think they avoid empathy there.
here's something else that's going on in the military. And I've had people in my family that went in the military, but they were not the core of people that I knew. My father, because of physical reasons, he didn't have bone spurs, but he did have a hearing loss. And so he couldn't go in during World War II. But, but here's something that I just heard and read about, which is that one of the fears that we live with is that we know who on earth or in America has access to the nuclear bomb codes, who can start a nuclear holocaust. We know who's got that power. And generally that power was seen, we are really strict about who we choose to be president. I mean, we've had remember Dwight Eisenhower? Maybe it was just before your time, but when I was a kid, he was the president and he had been a general in World War II. He was really honest about war is not the answer. War is what
Right.
we have to do, but it sure isn't the answer. And killing people is not the answer. Jimmy Carter said that. All of the great people that have been in the military have said this is not the answer. So here's what I heard. Maybe it's true, maybe it isn't. I've seen it substantiated, but I don't know for sure. Maybe other people listening can tell us. So the current deranged person who's pretending to be president or thinks he's president, with what 30% of the population supporting him, is apparently went to that point where he was ready to access his capacity to push out nuclear weapons and spring them on people, which means death, not just to those people, it means death to like the world. Because come
Right.
on, what's going to happen? Look what happened in Chernobyl when it was an accident. You know, that whole place has been messed up for how many decades now? And what was the
Yeah, it's
place in
still
America?
not recovered.
It isn't recovered. And then what was the place in near Buffalo, New York, Love Canal or something like that?
Right. Yep.
Right. And all the people in oh God, Arizona or New Mexico during the experimentation stuff.
Right.
Um,
That was
oh
a
my
long time ago.
God. So here's allegedly what happened. I don't know if it's urban myth or it's true, but I'm going to say the myth because it conveys something. And if it's true, it conveys something else. But the deal is apparently Trump went in and I'm going to, yeah, I'm the president. I can do this. And a general who was black, who was not a tall man, like 5 feet something, said no, said no. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Buddha.
No. No to you, Prez.
You know, the last time we had him as president, we had people like General Milley who would say no. We had people that were saying this guy's not safe. We cannot give him this access. But now we've got all these yes people like JD Vance and oh God, I don't even want to say their names. JD Vance and Marco Rubio, who used to have a soul, but he sold it so far down the river that the river's gone out to, I don't know, a sewage plant someplace. And, you know, and who else is in there still? Oh, Cash Patel. Trump is just getting rid of the women, which is, of course, no surprise.
Right.
But he's not going to, how can he get rid of these people, these boys that are so loyal to him, like Heggs, Higgs Breath, or whatever his name is, Heggs Seth. So, anyway, this guy, but guess what happened to the general who had the courage to say no?
He got fired,
Yep, he got fired. So my insider
which is
people,
better than getting murdered because he's
true,
doing that too. There's like 11 scientists uh, missing.
really.
Many have several have committed suicide. Uh, some are just missing, studying the contact, alien contact. So somebody's putting them out.
Oh my God. Well,
I mean, this power over culture is so gross.
let's
And
talk more about that, sweetie. So what the hell, what is it about it? What is power over? Where does it come from?
power over comes from patriarchy. And it's you know, I can only I'm not really good with history, but I can go
Okay,
back to the
girl, but what makes
Christian
sense
faith. The Christian faith
to you?
says men are in charge. We came from their rib and we're supposed to be subservient to them because they have power over. So that's how Catholicism or Christianity keeps this patriarchal system in place. Also, you know, Old Boy Network, that's been forever, you know, the Old Boy Network, that they keep this power over method strong. Advertising, you know, I always blame
Yeah.
Darren Stevens, bewitched his husband. You remember him? I blame him if you're right, bewitched. But her husband was an advertising agent. Larry Tate was his boss.
Larry Tate. Yep.
And that's where I learned when I was a young girl wanting to be a witch that could do magic with my nose that advertisers lie. Like they don't mind
Advertisers
lying.
make money, they sell.
Yeah,
Advertisers' whole point is to make us feel bad about ourselves. And
right. Which
once we feel bad about ourselves, then they can say, you need us or you're going to be ugly.
which also perpetuates power over because
You know,
the
you
more worthless that you feel, the more ugly, the more fat, the more
Right. The more
uh,
hairy. Denise, you sent me this wonderful podcaster that I'm watching and sending around now every week. She did a session on why women can't grow, are not supposed to have armpit hair and leg hair.
right.
Honey, when women were burning bras, I said, why am I shaving? There's no point here. So I had this wonderful bushy armpit hair. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh
And
yeah, totally.
yeah, yeah, and my legs were hairy, and I didn't give a sweet bippy. And I figured if men had trouble with it, that was their problem. I'd point to their legs and say, seems kind of natural, right? And I did that for years. I did that for years. And what she said was, what she just invited us again to look at what is that about? What's
Right.
that about?
Power over. They want you to look like a little girl.
Right. And this whole Epstein thing is about men being able to take little girls who are not mature enough to even be ready for any kind of
To tolerate
sexual.
that physical problem.
I read Nobody's Girl, and it was hard to read because as a sexual abuse incest survivor, it was not easy. And as I was reading the frequency of things that Epstein did to her, what was her name? Um,
Virginia.
Virginia Giuffre. She would get sick. She got sick because so much stuff was done to her and endlessly. Epstein had such a appetite, and that's a kind way to put it. He had such a command and demand for having continuous pleasure that he just abused one woman after another, and they didn't even have time to like recover. She would get all kinds of infections, and and he wouldn't care as long as he didn't get sick. He What did he care? So yeah, and that's an example right there that if I've got power, I can define everything. I can
I take
name
what I want.
everything. I take it, I name it, I define it, and because can define it, I can name it, I can claim it, I can I can defame it, and I
You
can
can
get rid of
encourage your boys, your crowd to do it also,
it. Right.
and be part of it.
Did you see the film Till
Mm-mm.
about Emmett Till? You know his story, right? Emmett Till was, okay, very powerful. He was a young, I think 13, maybe 14 at most, a young black boy who was raised by his mother in Chicago, South Side. And his father was killed in the war. And he was such a good boy. And he had such a good relationship with his mother. And he had relatives down in the deep South, Louisiana or one of those really deep South, Alabama maybe. And he wanted to go visit his cousins. And his mama was scared. There was something that did not feel good to her about his going. But yet she said he's a growing young man and this is something he wants. So she took his father's, like a dog tag, and before he left, she gave it to him. And that mattered because he was abused so badly that he was unrecognizable, but he had that. He had that that identification. Anyway, he went having been raised a northern black young man to the South, and you got sent there every summer too, right? To Alabama.
It is not the same culture.
What did you see in the
The the
1960s?
N word is thrown around like and that power we're better than
Hmm.
sentimentality.
It's a privilege and it's what's another word, Denise? It is entitlement.
Yes,
When I first went to graduate school at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, I was taking a drive to go meet somebody. When I came back, I needed to stop and get something to eat. And I pulled into a restaurant on the side of one of the rural roads there, which there were many in 1968 in North Carolina. I walked in a restaurant. I didn't see anybody, but I saw a big sign that said colored's not allowed or something worse. And in a heartbeat, I just took that sign out. I took it out. I put it in the back of my little Ford Comet, the only car I could afford for $250. I put it in the back of that and I took it to my room. Eventually, I got rid of it, but there it was. It was okay. You open a
Yeah,
door that's supposed to be to hospitality, and the door says, "Get out of here. We have a right to do this." Um, so I think this power over thing comes from a deep void. And that's not even the strongest word. It comes from a deep troubledness. Because if I have to put somebody or something down, there's something wrong inside of me.
right. And that's what they believe. In order to be grand,
Mhm.
masculine, they have to be putting someone down.
Oh, that's the definition thing. If I am better than, stronger than, whiter than, bigger than, more powerful than all these other people, then I can do anything I want with them. Now, God, I just read this case study about a woman who her white family didn't want her in the South because she was what they called back in the 19th century a cripple. She was a cripple. And her father, in his power over way, decided had to marry off all of his daughters. He tried to bribe people to marry her, and nobody would marry her. So instead, he gave her to the blacksmith on the plantation. Blacksmith was not a free man, but his father had power over the blacksmith because the father was this little white man and he was white and he owned everybody and everything. So he could give his daughter to this strapping, strong black professional who would, had the anvil and was doing blacksmithing work. Well, in the end, that man was far better than any of the white men could have been with this woman. I mean, she understood him, he understood her. I need to read more about it, but what they thought was the kiss of death wasn't. She said to him when they were first able to talk, she said, "What is it that you really want? Why are you doing this?" He said, "I don't want to get sold down the river. I want my freedom." And you can imagine what she wanted. So if every one of us, instead of wanting or believing power over his freedom, if we can believe every person on earth, God's creation or whatever you believe or don't believe, has a right to unfold to become who we're meant to be. If we believe that, then we don't have power over anybody. In fact, I want to go back to what you said about the Bible saying that woman came out of man's rib. Come on, man came out of woman's
Hoo-ha.
womb. And all those names that are given to the sacred parts of women. My God. So here's something I remember having an argument with a really good man. He is the husband of my college roommate, just a really sweet and good man, and a Catholic man, and raised Catholic, and sort of beyond that. But he and a brother was a priest. Anyway, we had this discussion, and he said he was quoting the Bible, and you'll remember this. And I'm inviting people listening to us. Man was made to have dominion over the animals.
Power over. Exact
That's it.
same word.
Dominion, power over. What does that mean to you? And why would any Godhead have ever said that?
Dominion, meaning I am like anointed by God to have power over you.
I think you're exactly right because I think, it's not just like, oh, domino. It's like
Right.
Dom. Dom, I think, is
Right.
another
Like dominate.
dominate. It means the masculine. Dom is like the male head. I think that's it. So dominate, um, yeah, all of that over stuff. And so, why on earth would the Bible have said that God gave man power, dominion over the animals? And that was the argument. I said, John, and there's so many Johns on earth, it doesn't matter. I said, John, I don't agree with this. I don't agree. I think that we have so much to learn from the animals. We have so much to learn from rocks. We have so much to learn from trees,
Trees,
Jesus,
roots.
roots, breezes, weather, everything. I said, when I was, well, because I didn't have humans to raise me, I had very troubled people. My father was a narcissist, could not be human. And my mother, because of her mental illness, could not sustain being human. So my family was out in the woods. Just like you've often told me. I remember the image, Denise, about you were out on your bicycle and the wind was pulling your hair back. Yeah, me out,
Freedom.
freedom. And I would climb up the hill so I could look down. It wasn't having dominion, it was just the beauty of being able to see all the apple
Right.
orchards and the
Within
river.
nature. We're not trying to go over nature. We're trying to be with nature because we understand that power over is not correct, but
I I hear
somehow
you.
it has ruled and it's losing. And that's why it's so prominent right now because they're grasping to the last few memories that they could keep this power over. But it's not going to work because we're not staying here anymore. We're not.
I, I'm smiling because that is my hope. Because, and I want to invite the trauma survivors, including you, that are with us, at your most truest part of your heart. Do you have hope, or do you have dread, or do you have both?
I have hope. And, even, when I stand out on the street with my peace sign saying Black Lives Matter, protect immigrants, believe women, my peace sign's got words all over it. Uh, like 7 cars will drive by neutral, no
Mhm.
nothing. And then we get a toot. And so even, and then occasionally we get flipped off. But we
Oh,
get
yeah.
we get flipped off so rarely lately. Everyone is like giving us peace signs and or just neutral, just looking. There's a traffic change, a pattern change because Sylvania, where we do it, the bridge is closed, so so we're getting more traffic now. So a lot of people are like trying to see what we got, as they drive by. But it's increased our positive
Oh,
response
I love that.
because when
And
they
I've
come by
noticed
the
that
second
too.
time, they know what our sign says and they toot.
I remember over a year ago when we first started doing the No Kings and, like doing the regular stuff that would, at first, I would say at least 50% or more of the people coming by would give us the finger, or
Right.
they'd yell something, or just, like give
All
us.
lives matter. That's what they like to yell. That's right. They do. Peace.
That's right,
I'm
honey.
praying for
That's
you,
right.
sister. Yeah.
Or we get called all these names, and I would just say, this is America. You can say what you want. It's okay.
Say
Or
it.
God bless you. I mean, when they were like saying F you and all this stuff, I think, hey, God bless you. You have a right to be here too.
Yep.
And I'll never forget the time that I did a protest, a No Kings protest in a more conservative state because I uh, was flying back home to Massachusetts and I land in a state that's close, but it's New Hampshire and has a lot more conservative folk than in much of Massachusetts. And I wanted to go to the No Kings protest, and I knew I couldn't make it to my own group in time. So I stopped at the closest. I just went online and I looked up to see where's the closest march. And so I
The
chose
beautiful
to.
network of organization network.
Indivisible is just wonderful.
Yeah,
And I
they're
just
really good.
noticed they are brilliant. And and it's a woman and a man.
Right. It's a team effort and collaboration, not power over. Like
That's
he
right.
doesn't know what's best. He listens to her and they work together. And that's
Right.
how they've been so effective.
And you're right. And in addition to that, about power shared, because now we're talking about how does power work?
Right.
Power when shared, that's what I love, because then everybody gets the same information at the same time. And I'm so used to people who are in power controlling the information and not giving the information out or giving only
Or giving
certain
false
information.
information,
It's a hoax. It's a hoax.
fake
The
news.
fake news. Right.
It's
That was what was it? Alex Preddy was he was, what did they call him? A tyrannist. He was like,
a
the guy,
terrorist,
terrorist, a domestic
an inner,
terrorist.
right, a domestic terrorist. That's right. That's what it
And
was.
same thing with that poor mother who got shot in the face when she
Good.
was trying to move away. Yeah,
Miss
good. What was
Good.
her first name? It'll come to us, girl. Renee, was it Renee?
Renee Good, right. Or that might have been her
Yeah.
partner's name, Renee. No,
Well,
I think she was Renee.
I think so. And she had these kids, and we looked, she's a beautiful lady, and she was just trying to get out of there. You can see, if you look at it all, she was just trying to get out of there, and the guy shoots her in the face and calls her a domestic terrorist. But,
Yeah, because
you
he was
know,
mad because he was losing power. And that is that grasp that they're so fanatical right now because they're losing grip on that. Like because the people, we the people, how many percentage? 67% of the people are not hip to this jive, this regimen. We're not, that people are unhappy with it.
I hear you. And here's what people are saying, and it's something that I, as a trauma survivor, used to set myself free when I was being told lies. I was from the perfect family, which let me turn this off, which maybe you were too. And the don't talk, don't trust, don't feel, don't you dare tell anybody what's going on at home. You just go to church and pretend everything's just fine.
With
Oh
your
my
Easter
God.
bonnets and your Easter
Right in your Easter
purses and your
bonnet and
Easter
your little white
gloves. Right.
geez and crow. So we're supposed to act as if everything is beautiful, but inside it is not beautiful. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. And so when it was Christy Nome, and also who's the other guy that looked like he was right out of Hitler's squad? Bo something, Bodie or Bondi or something. Some not Bondi, but there's some guy who was a man that used to dress with a leather strap across him right out of the Hitler era.
I don't know
He
who he
he
is.
was in charge of the secret police in Minneapolis.
Oh, right, right.
And he, of course, he didn't get fired. He just got relocated, like
He got
Christie got
relocated. He's
relocated.
still working. He
He's
didn't
still
even
working.
get fired.
Honey, Christie is living in military housing for free.
Right. Her and the guy that belongs there, the sailor, the not a sailor, the head of sailors is trying to go home and she won't leave.
Oh, and there's an example of what happens when somebody who's an outsider thinks that she's being included by the big boys, the what did you call it, the old boy network. If a woman or an outsider, like a person of color, thinks, "Oh, I'm in here now," um, are they really? They are totally at the mercy. Cash Patel, who is acting like one of the biggest goons. Oh my God. Drinking the beer and all this stuff. I mean, I feel bad for him because he's got this physical trait where one eye crosses over. And I know kids that were really given a hard time for that. I have a
Right.
friend
I
that had
saw
this.
recently someone said bullying needs to come back, which that is an example of bullying that, picking on the way somebody looks. And we should not be, they want this so hard, this patriarchy. They want it so, so desperately that they're asking for bullies to come back.
Because it lines right up with who's got unquestioned entitlement to do whatever you want. And as Cash Patel emulates or imitates Trump, he's thinking, I bet, because this is the way most people think that are not in the inner circle, but they want to be. He's thinking as long as I'm, doing exactly what the poppy daddy wants, I'm good. But look what happened. The first people that went, of course, were the top women. No accident there. If a woman imitates the patriarchy and expects she's going to be included by the patriarchy, she's going to find out real fast. She is not part of
Right.
that. I mean, even the tough side of Hillary Clinton, I remember women who were so shaken that Hillary didn't get elected, and I got it. I mean, I was she would have been so qualified, one of the brightest ever
My
presidents.
housemate Gina was, devastated by that loss. I mean, for a long
Yes.
time, it really hurt her.
What do you think was going on there? Because I have a really good friend who's an acupuncturist, and she, doctor so and so, and she's really capable. And your friend Gina had a bookstore. I mean, these people are
Right.
women are really capable, and it
Feminist
really,
bookstore. I mean, they just really, their hope got smashed in that.
yeah, I think it might have been something about expectation, and an
Yeah.
expectation is that
Yeah,
been
and
waiting
their
to
hope
happen.
got smashed. But Gina's back. She's good again. I mean, she's good and strong
Yeah,
again and politically active. But that was really a hard blow for some women.
yeah, it was a hard blow for many, many women, and although it didn't affect me as viscerally as Kamala Harris did, I still was affected. And the reason why is Hillary was the last of that generation of women. I was raised to be part of that too, where she did everything she had to do
Right. To integrate into a
to
male
integrate.
world
And she did it. And she made it. And
like you
she's,
did
yep, we made
into
it.
the
And yet
lawyer world. Right.
into the lawyer world. And there's nothing I mean, back when when I entered the bar in Maine, there were so few women that when I'd be up prosecuting someone, all these men would stand around and they'd call each other brother. Hey, brother, so and so. And I would wait to see, oh, okay, what are they going to call me? So one of them called me brother. And I say, it's okay, you can call me sister. Well, they had such a discussion after that. They were so upset that somebody might have to be called sister that they decided they were no longer going to use the term brother and they just used the term counselor. Now,
Right.
counselor is fine, but the reason for changing it to counselor was not a pretty one.
Because
They
they
couldn't say,
right, because they didn't want to say sister. I mean,
right.
come on, how infantile, how third grade, how these guys. Oh.
Sure, but what is the fear? I mean, sometimes it's rage, but on the flip side of rage is terrible fear. So what are
Right.
we afraid of?
Because the men are afraid that we're going to treat them like they treat us, diminish them, uh, diminish them mostly is what patriarchy has done to us is diminish us, take away our sovereignty, all that,
That's a
all
good
that.
point, sweetie, because if
And
my
that's
whole
what they're
thing
afraid of.
if my whole thing is to do just what you're saying, which is to have sovereignty and power over everybody, then that's all I can imagine someone's going to do. But when I run into
Right.
somebody like me or someone like you, and the mission is not that. The
No,
mission
because we have learned, we have worked with people from every race, from every culture. We've seen that we all have contribution, and all contribution is beautiful, and it
and
should be it should be celebrated, all the variety of contribution, but it's because it's not power over. But I am so delighted because I worked in the Head Start program, and that was how I met you. Really,
Mhm.
it was, I think, 6 years ago was the first conference that I went to, and you were not only the keynote, but you did workshops.
Yeah, I remember doing the workshops with you,
Right.
right?
And I went to a few well, once I saw you in the keynote, there were workshops later, I think the next day, perhaps. And so then I
Probably.
looked for your workshops. And because I felt somebody else is familiar. She gets it. She understands because you were right out there talking about abuse and about how, we have to develop emotional
Intelligence.
intelligence in order to cope with trauma. And you were like so out there with it. And I was like, oh my God, that's my topic. And so I chased you around, but I didn't introduce myself or take a
I
picture or
think you
anything like
did though,
that.
because I have a picture of us, sweetie. We have a
That was
picture
the
of that when we
next
met.
year.
Oh,
That was
was
the
it?
next year because you were there at the
Oh,
conference again. That was the Ohio.
Ohio AAYC. Yeah, good for you, because I
It
remember
was
that
your,
picture.
yeah. And that's when I came up to you and said I wanted a picture.
Yeah,
And
I
then
remember that.
I don't know how we got to, how you got to tell me about that podcast about your book. I
I
can't
don't, e-
remember how I
I
got
don't
that, but
either, but what, yeah,
once I learned it, then I started going to the podcast, which that was not a typical podcast like we have today in Zoom. It was different in that you spoke to us and then we commented in the comments to each other mostly. Yeah.
yeah. No, it was great. It was out
It
of,
was a whole different deal. But
came out of
now, but
Cambridge,
it's been
England.
this way since COVID.
That's right, honey. That's true. The thing that I want to go back to what you were saying, and thanks for reminding me of our history. It's a sweet one. And the thing I want to say is that as you were talking about basically respect, everybody's worthy of respect. There's a word that people like Martin Luther King and Gandhi and Joan of Arc, all these people use. Hillary Clinton, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Mother Teresa, and the word is dignity.
Yeah. And everybody deserves it. And in power over, that's what they're taking. They grabbing your dignity, your sovereignty, your independence. And
And that's it. And you and I have talked about maybe not for months or years now, but innocence.
right. That's what they robbed from the children.
Hmm.
That's what they take from the children. When they abuse a child, a little girl, a little boy, also,
Hmm.
what it's not that the act is so horrible or the feeling, unless it's violent,
Hmm.
uh, uh, it's more that what you take, what the men take away is the little girl's ability to be innocent, to expect goodness for herself.
To
That was
experience, oh, you're right. It's to experience, we all have a right, I believe, inborn right to experience the world, discover it, discover where we belong in it. That's what Head Start does, helping each child unfold. And well, I like this color, and I really like singing. And well, I can't stand singing, but I'm real good at throwing a ball, you know. It's like
right.
helping each child discover where her
What
energies come
they
from.
are, right. Who they are, what
And
their
that's why,
interest is. What
right, and how they can give back and how they can find joy. And that is why Head Start was so on the chopping block, because it's so opposite of the patriarchy, or the patriarchy that says a small number of people. And now today it's going to be the rich white people, the rich white
right.
men,
Elite, right.
the rich
Elite
white
white
guys.
privilege.
Right. They're going to be able to define everybody and everything. And we they don't, what good is it for them to have little kids coming up thinking, I can question you.
Right. I have goodness. I have
I
value. I am
right.
strong.
I am really good
I
at,
have talents.
yeah, I remember
No,
the little kid you told us about that was a helper. He was really going through a hard time, but you gave him like a doctor kit or a nurse's kit or
right. Yep.
something,
A helper kit.
helper
And
kit, and he
so
went
he could
around with
run and help whoever was in trouble because he was always paying attention. He was hyper vigilant. He knew when something was off, you know, he
And what
knew.
a strength that is. It's like Dr. Judith Herman. You know, I researched and researched before I wrote the article called "We Are So Much More Than Our ACEs Scores," because I kept wanting to find what are the strengths that come out of this abyss of being traumatized children? And I couldn't find anything. It was like the ACEs study kept saying, your teeth are going to drop out. You're going to have heart attacks. You're going to have panic disorder. You're going to have this.
Endometriosis was a common ailment that many survivors got.
Endometriosis, barrenness, inability to have children, because we were raising, in my case, I was raising my mother and my father and everybody else. Yeah, I was a mother at age 4. So we
Right.
only have about 5 minutes left here, sweetie, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're able to get into this because it's an either or way of looking at the world. And that's, I've got it all and you don't exist unless I decide you exist, but you only exist to the extent that you're in my
To
view.
fulfill my needs, to
Exactly.
fulfill what I want.
And there's
That's a
so
give and
many,
take.
no, you're right, sweetie. And there's so many women that were married to powerful men who developed their own subsystems of having power over. But everybody knew they were just dependent on the men. Without the men, what did they have? And then when
Right.
women
Trophy
started,
wife.
it was it, right? Then the man would get rid of the older wife and just grab a,
Grab a new one
right. And then all
from the
the
office, a secretary, young secretary.
executive assistant,
Right.
right? And those were the women that knew exactly how to please the guy. And
They were trained. They had school when they were teenagers or whatever. They went to refinement school or whatever. Oh,
oh,
not
so
me. My
somebody
sisters
Gibbs.
went, but I
What's
wasn't
it
cut
called?
out for
Lucy,
that.
Lucy Gibbs or somebody Gibbs, Catherine Gibbs.
They're right. And to put on makeup a special way. And oh, no, not. I was very busy on my bike that day.
There were finishing schools,
Yes.
and the finishing schools taught women how to behave properly. Well, even you and I were raised to be ladylike. The
Yeah.
worst thing
That
was to
was,
not
they
be
were
ladylike.
requesting that.
In my
Sit
case,
with
it
your
was like
legs closed. Right.
no request. You don't get up
Yeah. There was
without
a backhand included.
right. I mean, oh my God. I remember all that stuff that to be, if you weren't a lady, you were not worth anything. And let's look at that. If I didn't act like a lady, I would not qualify to get the richest man. And if I didn't qualify to get
Husband.
the
Right.
richest husband, then who was I going to be? And the worst than that is, what if I happened to go along with my developing self and got pregnant? Total shame.
Oh
Be-
yeah, we had a few in my class, in which was already 1976, and it was huge shame to go off and have a baby, or worse
I
yet,
had
get an
a,
abortion. But
oh God, I had friends that went to the Crittenden home for unwed mothers. Or one of my dear friends, she wasn't with us junior year. She went off to New Jersey or New York, and she said, I'm just living with my auntie so and so. And I didn't question it because I thought, well, it's her way, her choice. 50 years later, at our high school reunion, she said, I had the child of our classmate so and so, and he doesn't know it. He doesn't know he was a father. That's how huge the shame was.
right,
She never told this guy that he was the father. And then shortly after that, she died. And her brother called me and said, Let's talk this through. This guy that you know and I know has got a son. Son is like 50 years old and 50, 52 years old or something. And what do I do? I said, well, you tell me what you want to do and I'll listen. I said, I support you 800%. This guy has a right to know. He has a right
yeah,
to know. And he gets to choose how he wants to do it. And
right,
and I never did find out. I always kind of wanted to know, but I just let that go. But there it is. The power over the constant threat that men had over women was that they could annihilate us in so many different ways, one of which was get us pregnant. And that was the spoils of war to rape all the women.
right,
And then what happened to the women? They became slaves because they were no longer good enough because they had slept with the enemy.
right. Right. With the American soldiers.
When I adopted my children from Korea, there was my son Nicola was in this beautiful children's book. It was just a picture book, but there was a beautiful, tall, willowy girl who was half Korean and half black. She was elegant, but in Korea, she had no life. She had no future. Because if you were not part of a patriarchal family where you could take your father's name, you had no identity. Same thing with both of my children. In one case, my daughter knows what her father's name was. My son never knew who his father was or who his mother was. And so there it is. I think there's something really deep here in this power over that the person who feels has all the power has the power to destroy
Right.
and annihilate. Creation, does that person have the power to create too? What do you think?
Uh, the the survivor,
No, well, that's a good question too, but let's focus on the person who's got the power over, like Trump. What can they create, if anything?
fear, basically. They
What is
create
Trump's,
fear.
what's his legacy going to be? What's his physical legacy going to be?
I don't know. He falls over all the time and
But
he's
he's putting a big,
huge.
big, he wants to put a big archway with probably all gold stuff on it up in
Yeah, there
DC.
was a picture of a photograph comparison of when Obama was with the king and of when Trump was with the king sitting in the same room. And when Obama was the president, there's a couple pictures on the wall, a couple historic
Right.
pictures. I think it was art, actually, not even men. But when you see Donald Trump's, it's a bunch of men in gold frames, all sizes. Every inch of the wall is
You're
with
exactly
gold
right.
men, golden
The,
men.
the word hoard came to me. It looks like a hoarder's palace. What
Right.
he's going to leave is physical stuff, like if he gets to build that crazy ballroom, who the
We're
hell
going to
wants
turn
a
it into a
ballroom?
basketball court. Invite Obama to come back,
Ah,
shoot some
please.
hoop. No,
Oh,
it won't. We don't want that fake gold bullshit. We are we're American. We're not royalty.
but if power is what I want, then all I know to do is to imitate other people that have had power. And if I just imitate other people, then I've lost my human value. Because my human value is if each one of us is created uniquely. And if your job and our job as early childhood professionals is to help each child become who she can be and also
Right.
help each other, help each other. I mean, Head Start
Right.
wasn't,
Co-workers, we were so supportive of each other and so encouraging and empathetic and we learned what cultural differences we have. There's huge cultural differences in I worked with Armenian people, Navajo, they call themselves Dene, but Navajo and
Vietnamese, Cambodian, uh, what's the
Egyptian. I had Egyptian
school?
children before. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just
Somali
we
kids?
learned, right? We learned, and then a lot of times in the Head Start program, those parents would come and learn English and how to be to would take their training from where they live, their cultural childcare people, and enhance ours with their abilities.
I love it. I really do love it. And we need to wrap, but I want to thank you,
Okay. Yeah.
Denise, for reminding us of this whole issue of power over. Hopefully, we've gone a bit deeper on where it came from, why people need it, what is it ever any good? What do you think? Is it ever any good?
I mean, leadership is good, but it's not power over leadership. It's we learned this through the Japanese model. I think it was from Toyota,
Mhm.
whatever, how to let employees say what the problem is and how to fix it. And to, have that more collaborative uh, thing. So, but if Donald Trump would have known I was getting that training, he would have stopped it because, DEI.
Oh, yeah, total quality management was all about including everybody in the decision making, so everybody had an investment, and that also meant getting everybody's opinion. I want to
Right.
leave our listeners with this question. Is there anybody on earth that you can think of that doesn't have something to give back? Is there anyone on earth that doesn't have some kind of gift or some kind of talent, including the person who has the most severe disability? Is there anyone that doesn't have something to give back? And perhaps the measure of a country is, and an organization is, do we make it possible for that person to share her gifts? Or do we totally destroy the person because she's not what we think everybody ought to be?
Normal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
normal doesn't exist. That was the first concept that I got in college, special education. There
Oh,
is
that's
no
so good.
normal. There is no
Right. And I hear you. And here I'd studied law, and the question was, what did the gentleman on the Clapham, Clapham, the Clapham bus, what would he have said, the everyday man on the bus? And that's like the jury system is if we just put everyday people together, of course, it used to be just men, of course, it used to be just white men, but if we
right.
put everyday people together, they will come up with the wisdom, the insights, if we let them do that. And
And genuine goodness. We have to let people be their genuine goodness. We all have it. Even the most troubled little boy in my class that I ever had was running with band-aids if somebody fell down, you
that's the
know?
same with boy, I hear you. And, the children I know that are severely disabled, when they are seen, heard, believed, and allowed to just do what they're good at, even if it is the tiniest thing on earth, it's
Building
not the
Legos,
tiniest.
singing a song. I've seen this autistic boy online singing. His
Mm,
dad's in the back playing guitar. He's a teenager now, and he sits there and does Legos. He follows, his hands are doing Legos, but he is singing in the most beautiful voice, in the most beautiful songs that he loves. And it's, you know, that's what we have to let people do. And his parents are doing the right thing. They're encouraging him to, and they're making videos, and other people can see too. Talent, skill, beauty, contribution.
I love it, Denise. This is a great place to end. So I want to thank Denise and I want to thank everybody who's listening now or afterwards and invite you to just ask yourself, what is power and what can it be? What is, how does it, how do trauma survivors face the issues of power to become ourselves, to become truly ourselves? Is there any way around it? Is there any way out but through?
It
To
is
just tell the
true.
truth. Who used power cruelly, who used power abusively, and who used power in a way that was loving.
There is loving leadership. There is.
There is. There is a book, children's book called Miss Tilly's Neighborhood. You know Miss Tilly. She
I don't know
basically
that one.
just I think she thinks she was a retired teacher and she just all the children could come over to Miss Tilly's and she always had some activity and she always helped every child feel like whatever that child could do was beautiful. That's good. Look at you. Look at you now. And
You
then one
did it.
day you did you did
That's
it
my favorite
yourself.
thing to say, and they say it too now at my story time. when they figure out how to do some certain skill, like put a hitch on a horse trailer hitch onto a truck hitch. You did it. And there, or they say, I did it.
You did it. I did it. And you know what? Inside of us adults, 80, 70, 33, 15, and times two, it doesn't matter. When we do something that we know comes from our dignity, that's a beautiful moment. Doesn't even have to be bragged about or talked about. It just has to be appreciated. So,
Yep.
girl, love you, and I'll see you next
Love you
week. And
too.
hopefully, Priscilla will be better too. And thanks
Yes. We
everybody
wish you
for
well,
joining us.
Priscilla. Love, love,
Yeah,
love.
we got you, girlfriend. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording. Thanks. I'll
See
see
you
you next
next
week,
time.
sweetie. Got it.